Hey guys, welcome to another one of our reviews. I'm the Worm, and this is the Proton. Today we're going to be doing a review of a Genesis style atomizer. We received this free from one of our Facebook users, Gavin. So thank you very much to him for sending this down. Mr. Proton is going to tell you what we're doing and
there you go. Right guys, what we're doing today is the Prometheus Jenny atomizer, not the clone. This is the real deal, guys. Sent down from Gav from Facebook. We're actually going to be giving this bad boy away at some point very soon, so keep an eye out for that if you want to know about it. Yeah, so Prometheus, ground vapor, all that kind of good stuff. We'll hash over briefly some of the little bits and bobs about it. Not widely available in the UK, guys. To be honest with you, you're going to struggle to get one. It's going to be an import job if you can get them. Still, it's a pain in the ass to get hold of. Should we just go into a close-up and we'll do everything else on the outside?
yeah, we'll go in the close-up. Mr. Proton's going to tell you all about the little bits down there, but we'll re-go over it when we come back up as well.
Indeed, so we'll go out now, guys. We'll go into the close-up, but then we'll go over everything important after that. Right, guys, a little close-up of the Grand Vapor Prometheus. So, there you go. Right, let's start. Where are we going to start? Let's start with the top. Okay, let's put you down there. Right, top. What you've got going on in here is a reduced chamber. Just on the inside you can see the step there itself if the glare doesn't sort of keep being reflective, and then you've got some holes going on in there. If you're used to the Trident V2, you'll be used to this kind of thing. So you've got your top part of your top cap, then you've got your ring that slides over, and then in here you have your airflow control. Now what you've got in here is lots of holes, so you've got sort of your small holes all the way up to your biggest, and then obviously you've got your dual 2mm holes as well, which is awesome source for your dual coilers. Your biggest hole I think is 2.5mm, so that is what it is, and then you've got a bit of screw threading, but obviously as you can see you have got a step chamber here, which is going to reduce the amount of space there is to be vaporizing liquid. So a smaller chamber usually equals bigger and better flavour. Now with this system, unlike the Trident V2, the hole in the ring is actually big enough to compensate for the biggest hole in the body, which is fantastic. And then what you do is obviously you get your air hole sort of lined up, and then you screw your top on. That keeps it in place. When it's to change, all you've got to do is, and then bosh. Only really relevant though, guys, if you're using the single coil setup. If you want to change on a dual, that'd be most open, and you could then sort of, I don't know, I suppose, lock some off like that and then tighten it down, giving you a tighter dual coil. But it's not like the single coil options where you've got loads and loads of dual coil options, because they just don't exist. So that is what it is. In there you've got your labelling, well, it's engraved. I like the backing on that. It's very well done. And it's on the other side as well, but obviously it's a different label, as you can see with yourself there, guys. Obviously, guys, stainless steel. You would bloody hope it would be. Right, getting into all of this hoo-ha, let's start by undoing some bits and bobs. Now this one can be a bit tricky to undo, guys. It's a grippy little bugger. We'll start with, well, where should we start? I don't know, where should we start? Let's start with this. The tank section. This is not Pyrex. That disappoints me big time, but that is what it is. Into your very bottom section where your tank would sit, obviously you've got a big old beefy O-ring in there. You've got a copper contact, adjustable, huge length on that one. Your insulator, which surrounds your copper contact, and then you've got your, just inside there, outside of the insulator, you've got your screw threading for that right now. So that is what it is. That's fairly uncomplicated. Then we get into the actual tank itself. Underneath you've got your wick holes and you've got your fill hole. You've got an O-ring there to seal the tank. Your metal here, obviously your big beefy O-ring, and it is a big beefy O-ring on this one, to get your top cap on, and it can be quite tight. And then into the top, what you've got in there is a dual coil build that I've left in there, and you also got your negatives and your positive. Now I'm not going to take these out because there's a build in it, but your negatives, first of all, guys, the Allen key. I do want to point out they didn't come to us with an Allen key, and it didn't come to Gav with one either. So that is what it is. Whether it came to the guy who originally bought it, we don't know. We'll explain the backstory about that when we come back up. Centre post is very Trident-like. You undo the top cap, you'll recognise that, and then you slot your posts in. So a Jenny that you can actually slot your build into, lovely. Makes dueling very nice and simple in comparison. Size of the wick holes though, guys, you're talking about 2.2 mil, there or thereabouts. To be honest with you, I haven't researched it too much. It may bang on 2 mil, but all I know is that they're smaller than I'd like them to be, and then your fill hole is smaller still, 1.5 ish. I know 2 mil drop, it won't fit down there anyway. I'll come up, we'll get the proper numbers for you guys, but you know how we do things, half-assed as it is. But we're just going through what it is. You got very slight well in there. Which it is what it is. What can you say, guys? It's a little sort of, I don't know, a drip well, I suppose you'd call it, but there you go. And there's no way obviously for you to block off that fill hole. So that is what it is. Put it back together is fairly simple. One thing I do want to point out when I'm doing that though, it depends on what look you want to go for as to what you're going to do, because you have got the option where you could have your tank like so. There we go. And you can run it looking like that, if that's your preference. You can seal your juice and whatever else. I will say though, guys, and I hope this can be made out not so much as it is in front of me, but this tank has got quite a bit of damage to it on the inside. It's not massive, but it sort of scratches, and if that was glass, that wouldn't be happening. So yeah, I'd expect glass, to be honest. Or you can run it like this, which I think looks much better, and hide that tank obviously, and there you go. That is your kind of look with that. Now I do want to say, guys, this does need to be quite tight, and once it is done up, it does not like coming apart easy for you. So what we'll do, we will stick a build in this. I think that would only be fair. So what we're going to do is a simple cotton build. Well, the build's in there, sorry. We'll stick the wicks in for you because the build's done. Advantage of using this kind of setup in this kind of tank. I know true Jenny fans are like, oh my god, what are you doing? But that is what I'm doing. So there you go. I prefer cotton to mesh. It's just how I roll. And I know Worm does too, so that's why whenever we get a Jenny, we tend to wick it with cotton. It's our preferred wicking material. So what we're going to do is we are going to knock up a couple of quick wicks using cotton, which, because it's cotton and not mesh, is very easy to do. A little twist, a little turn, and then with this one, the same procedure, a little twist, little turn, roll it out to kind of thickness. I mean, I use the same drill bit all the time. I've said this a few times now in the reviews, and it's the same each and every time I use it, so no problem. This has got the advantage, like a lot of atties out there, that you can do that, pop it off, and you can wick it, especially if you're using cotton, it's easier, and then install it in, which is a definite bonus. But it would be nicer if the wick holes were bigger than the cord I'm using, that's what I'm saying, because when I wrap mesh, my mesh is quite thick. I like a big thick, I like to use 1.5 mil stainless steel rope, surrounded completely by mesh, which would not be fitting in here anyway, put it that way, and not easily, because as soon as you want to leave yourself a little bit of breathing room. And then what I do, guys, is literally, it's nice and tight to make it as easy to stick through as possible. Something along those lines, really thin, because we're probably going to end up cutting that off anyway. And then down there, and then through, we just poke out there, right there, and I just sort of pull it through until I feel the right resistance. Then I'll grab my snippy dingles, and then one now, and one now, just like so. And then I think I'll prime these now, just because why not? It's here. 1, 2. Obviously, you don't want to be ramming these holes there full too much, because it will choke your juice supply off, and you won't be able to do anything about it apart from remove the wicks and go again. So it's best to sort of take a little bit more time, which, let's be fair, is something I never do, and then deal with it. It's just one of them, guys, just trying to give you a bit of advice. And then what we do is just cut a little bit of the excess off here, not much. It's just to make the tails from the top a wee bit smaller. Again, just like that. And then what I would tend to do is fill it first if you're going to do this kind of setup, which with this gauge needle, which I believe is a, I don't know, 14, 18, it's one of them ones. It is a really small one. It takes a while. Just sort of, I hold it at 45 degrees and pour until it's full. which if it had a bigger wick hole would be easier. But there we go. To be honest with you, you've got juice coming out the top before, wouldn't you? And then I just prime the wicks, the top of the wicks, which is an easy procedure with cotton. Drip, drip, drip. Drip, drip, drip. And then what I've been doing, purely because I'm not a big fan of an exposed fill hole, is wrap that there like so, just to make sure that there's something over the wick hole. It's not just that, but if you are auto dripping, having a bit of wick over the wick hole means you're going to have 3 ways of providing them juice to them wicks, as opposed to just the 2. Then what we're going to do, I mean, I'm not sure what I'm going to run this on, but for now, seeing as I haven't got a battery and any mods that are ready available to screw something onto, I'm just going to grab the nearest one to me, and that happens to be the Sentinel clone. Well, that's what you get if you buy a clone, I suppose, guys, isn't it? A little positive contact just come out the top, and there we go. So, screw the top cap back on, chuck our battery in, screw her down, and then we'll see if we've got some vapour. Of course we have, we've got loads of vapour. This build isn't stupid low, it's about 0.6 joule, which to me personally is a stupid low, but that is what it is. And then lastly but not least, guys, as we've discussed, we're just going to go through and find our right air hole, which is the 2mm joule, which is actually smaller than the bigger joule there. Sorry guys, I need to see for that bit. So yeah, bigger joule there, and then obviously line your air holes up, which is right there, and then we'll chuck a drip tip in it and have a nice little vape. Right guys, back up to us.
Alright guys, that was the close-up of the Prometheus. Obviously not widely available anywhere, and pretty much impossible to get in the UK unless you're buying it through a trade or whatever. Second hand and that kind of dingle dangle. Indeed. Big features about it, obviously dual and single coil Jenny tank. Can change it to whatever you want, adjustable airflow, another key bonus to this one. A lot of Jenny tanks are going that way these days, but obviously for a high-end one, this one does it really well. Yeah, it's the same as Trident, isn't it? Let's be fair, same as Trident V2, but basically it's Trident V2 in Jenny form stuck on top of a tank. So that is what it is, but you've got very, very adjustable airflow. A few of the particulars about it, guys. I mean, obviously we got it sent to us, and we didn't get it as new, but we can tell you what you're going to get if you do manage to find and buy one. You're going to get 2.5mm tank acrylic, not Pyrex. I would have liked to have seen Pyrex, but not Pyrex or polycarbonate, it's acrylic, so that's for that. You're going to get 2 extra acrylic tanks as well, so they are included in there as extras, which is nice. An Allen key, because obviously you've got an Allen key building there, you've not got a screw. When actually building it, if I've got the Allen key there, much prefer Allen keys. It's just, who carries Allen keys around with them really? I mean, I do, but most people won't. 2 Phillips head screws, and you're going to get an extra positive post nut, which is obviously your slotted sort of centre post. Over a few things that you've seen in the close-up, guys. Copper contacts, awesome stuff. You've got the sort of the sleeve that goes around the outside of the tank. Now, personally, I would never run it without that, just because I think it looks awesome, and it's very kind of, you can see everything that's going on in there as well. You should. But you've got the option to run it without it if you choose to, if that's more your preference or whatever else. Ground vapour, so it does look pretty funky. I mean, you can see pictures of it, guys. There will be one as a thumbnail on this, no doubt for that. And it's very, very kind of put together and does what it does. You've seen it all in the close-up. As shown in the close-up, running a dual 0.5, very, very thick wire. We're going low on this one. We've got sort of a 7/8 wrap on either side of 0.5 dual on cotton. Reason running it on cotton, it's our preference. It's as simple as that. We had someone say the other day that should be running Jenny's on mesh. I want to, mate. It's as simple as that. Prefer cotton. If you can get mesh to taste this good with this juice, then crack on. But that is what it is. So yeah, that's how we're running it. I mean, I've used the thing quite a bit. Actually, really wanted one, and then Gav said, "Oh, send one, and you can have a little play with it." I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to want to send it back." He goes, "If you haven't got to, give it away on your next live event that you do." So that's where it's going to be given away, guys. If you're interested, we will post a video up before and just letting you know when it's going to be, but we will be giving this away. It's not ours, it's not Gav's anymore, it's going to be one of yours if you're wanting it. Price between $165 and $220, which works out to be between about 110 quid up to about 140, 150, then shipping. Bear in mind, it's probably going to be in the region of anywhere between $20 to $45 we've seen for shipping of these sort of high-end things.
DHL direct the other day, $80.
Yeah, and
off DHL.
You've also got to be aware of, obviously, it's coming imported as well, so you may get stung by the postman as well.
Tax as well. So you're looking at, depending on where you go, what you get stung with and everything else, anywhere between 150 and 200-ish. So not cheap, guys, as well we know with this genuine stuff. I mean, having vaped it, it vapes really well. It does vape really well. We'll get into the vape, I guess, in a little while. But no, it does vape really well. It fits together really well, as well it bloody well should. A couple of things I have noticed though. I mean, on the inside of the adjustable sort of airflow ring where it's been drilled out, it's a bit of a rough patch in there. It's not major or anything, but you expect a little bit better. I think anyway. I would expect a little bit better. But it's something I've been very critical, to be honest with you.
To be honest, you've got to be on these higher end mods. I mean, you're paying this money for a reason. You expect the standard of £150 odd mod, you know, not little rough areas here and there. It should be smooth all the way along.
There you go. I mean, we've read reviews and stuff and forum posts, and some people saying they're getting it like that, others aren't. So just one of them. It is very barely noticeable, but it is noticeable if yours has it, and if you've got an eye like mine and you go critiquing it basically and go. A few other things. I mean, I love the sort of the top cap. I love the sort of logos that are on it. I think they look bloody awesome. I'm not a big fan of the sort of nutted effect that's up here on top of the very top cap. I can see what they've done it to stop it just being a complete bolt dead 90-degree square top. But I think a bit of creativeness up there wouldn't have gone amiss.
It's the same as the Trilo.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I think it's just Grand Vapor style, to be honest with you. This is now on the Vela clone and not on the Grand Vapor Sentinel clone, purely because this is a Vela hybrid at the minute, because I didn't know lots of threads, so I have to very delicately take it apart. So yeah, that is what it is. Should we go into a 5-1 here and we'll do the flabbery dingle? Okay. Well, first one will be looks. You go first.
I don't like it. I don't like the looks of it. I mean, that's obviously a personal preference thing. I mean, people out there looking to get one obviously like the looks of it, but for me, it's just too much going on. It's just too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. You expect something little, like kind of flair for it, for like the price you're paying, like some sort of special about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's got something special about it. It's just not my preference on that specialness. I said it in the V2, the Trident as well. It's not my preference on looks of the device. So it's the same with this one. It's the same sort of style. About a 7. I mean, I like it. It's just I wouldn't pay that sort of money for that sort of look. So
there you go. Looks for me, I actually really like the look of this thing. I think it's a bit out there. I like the look of it before receiving it. Once had a play of it, looked at it, I thought, yeah, it's kind of it's weird looking, and I like that. I'm going to give it a 10 for looks. I really enjoy how this thing looks. I think it looks awesome sauce. So yeah, very good stuff. Usability.
Usability. Yeah, sorry. Usability. It's dual core or single core. So if you're running it single core Jenny, it's going to be as usable as any other Jenny, which is around about an 8. Because Jennies are very hit and miss. Like me and Mr. Prime was talking about it earlier, and we was like discussing it. We come to the conclusion that Jennies are generally like 8% not working properly to the best of its ability, and 20% where you just get it in its sweet spot, and it stays there for a couple of days, then you got to do it again. So it's one of them, isn't it? And dual cores, depending on what kind of cores you're wrapping, if you're using like mesh or silica or what's the other one? Eco wool and stainless steel rope. Obviously, they're a lot harder to tweak, especially with dual cores, than it is to do 2 micro cores, because you just pinch them together and they're pretty much generally ready to go with cotton. So if you're using a cotton setup, I still think this is about an 8 on dual core. If you're using any other kind of wicking material, it drops to about 6.
There you go. Usability. There's a few niggles with this for me. One of them is size of wick hole and size of fill hole, and how close that the fill hole in particular is to the centre post.
Didn't you?
Filling it is a pain in the arse unless you've got a very small gauge syringe. You've got no chance. But I was using. I mean, I'll show you what I was using to fill it. I was using this. I was actually using a syringe bottle. I was using that to fill it, and even that was struggling to fill it just purely because didn't want to go in. It was just welling up on top of it. That's my main niggle when it comes to actually using the bloody thing, is filling it up. In terms of like dual coiling, for cotton I find it very easy, same as I would with a Trident, because you can slide it in and screw it down. On mesh, however, though, that sort of slide it in and screw it down does tend to pull the mesh slightly, and I don't know if this is just me, but it did pull it slightly. It does with a screw on top, to be honest with you, but I'd hoped with that kind of design that was going to be a thing of the past, to be fair. Dual coiling mesh, it's a bit of a pain in comparison to like the cotton, for example. You make sure the microcoils are wrapped the same around the drill bit and flamed the same, stuck in, and they will be the same straight away, whereas mesh, it's a little bit more tweaking and stuff, but that's more a reflection on the wick design and the wick use than it is the atomizer itself, I guess. I'm going to give it an 8 for usability. I think there are things, I mean, Allen key for one, I know a lot of high-end actors use Allen keys, but I really am a bigger fan of, in an everyday usable sense, of a screw, just because I am, to be honest with you. Allen keys definitely lock in tighter, and I prefer it once it's locked in, but using it's a pain in the bum. And also they do always protrude higher than a screw would, which sometimes can be interfering with builds and so on and so forth. Yeah, 8 I think is fair for usability.
Cool. Maintenance. It's like any other Jenny, there is quite a lot of bits to this one. Obviously you've got your top cap that actually unscrews, so actually adjust your airflow, so you can take that off and wash all that out if you need, if you get juice. A lot of juice retention gets stuck there, maybe if you're over wicking or whatever, or if you're tilting it for too long, can happen, it will get in there. Other than that, generally everything's quite big and quite bulky. There's nothing like overly too small, except for obviously the screws that are all in every Genesis tank. Obviously Allen key ones in this one, so as long as you make sure they're tightened down, you're not really going to lose anything down the seam, I don't think. So in terms of like cleaning it and all that, maintaining it, it's not too much. It's just going to need a slight wipe over every now and then. It's not going to get mucked up or anything. It doesn't seem to be a fingerprint magnet or anything like that. So it's actually quite high on maintenance, this one. It's not very hard to maintain at all. Only time it comes to a little bit low is when you've got to actually recoil it, and if you're using the cotton setup like we do, you ain't even got to do that very often. It's just literally redoing your cottoning, and that takes 2 seconds. So on your general day-to-day use, it's a 10. When it comes to actually recoiling it, I think it drops back down to an 8, because obviously that coiling is just a little bit more of tweaking.
There you go, maintenance for me. I think to maintain it, it's definitely got benefits. I mean, similar to a lot of the Jennies recently, if you are using mesh and you've meshed it up in a double, the last thing you want to do is take that out, especially for a wash or whatever. So what you can do obviously is unscrew the entire build section and off it comes without having to disturb your build, which is great. Something that, like, I'm not the same price range for things like the Argas, and they just don't incorporate that kind of stuff. So I like that. I like the fact you can do that, and it's the same thing with cotton as well. I just said, if you're using cotton, you can whip out that cotton, you can unscrew it all, get the whole thing in a nice warm bath, and then just dry burn and you're off again after recottoning, obviously. So yeah, do like that too. Other than that, I mean, yeah, there's a fair few bits to it, the same with all Jennies, so it's not really any negative point on this. Yeah, I'm going to give it a sort of an 8 or 9 for maintenance. I think it's nice to maintain. It's going to be dependent on what you want to run in it, but whatever you choose to run in it probably is going to be what you would typically run. So you're going to find certain benefits, certain drawbacks to all parts of it, I guess. But yeah, I think an 8 is fair for the maintenance of this thing. It's got a lot of parts, but you expect it to, so it's one of them ones.
Flavour and vapour. This is obviously going to depend on whether you've got a single core or dual core setup. Single core, it's the same as every other single core Genesis. It's hitting around about, well, depending on your juice and that, I personally think it's a 10. Dual core setup, I think it's slightly better than some of the others out there that are dual core. I think this is probably a 10, like 10 and a half sort of thing. It's just got that little bit extra because of the, obviously you've got adjustable airflow, and it just seems to wick really well. We don't know why, it's just obviously, it just does.
Spontaneous build.
That's what it is, yeah.
No, in all honesty, the first time I started building it, I wasn't as cautious with the cotton as I've been in this, and it did dry hit a bit. I mean, you haven't got any way of blocking off that fill hole, so if you are going to use cotton, you can sort of leave towels at the top and then put them over the fill hole, so you've almost got 3 ways to feed 2 wicks if you like, which is nice. But no, I mean, it's always with cotton, if you put too much in that hole, it's going to block it up.
You're kind of used to it, and with the setup we got at the moment, we haven't had any major issues with it or anything, so, but the flavour of it, personally I think it's the same as any other Jenny. The amount of vapour is definitely more of this one, but the flavour is just the same. You just kind of get the same sort of flavour with more vapour, which generally sometimes decreases, but with this one it just doesn't. So, but the actual flavour strength is the same across the board, no matter if you've got the higher res or lower res, or you've got the airflow open. It's all very similar to any other one that you can adjust your airflow. it's no worse, but it's no better in my opinion. So
vapor I think is pretty good. This is going to depend on your juice for one, your resistance for another, dual or single, air hole size, that whole thing. But with a setup that we would typically run, which would be basically a dual fully open, same as it would be on a Trident or something like that, yeah, I think the vapor is very, very good. So I'm going to give it a 10 for vapor. I think it'd be silly not to. You've seen what's coming out, so yeah, 10 for vapor. For flavour, yeah, it does deliver really well. I mean, I tried it on mesh and I found it delivered well against other mesh setups that I've used. My preference is always going to be cotton unless something better comes out. It's just as simple as that. I use what I find to be the best, and so does worm, obviously. In comparison to some of the other Jennies out there, I would say flavour is better than some. I would say it's equal to others. I'd say it's just that when using a Jenny, it's kind of old hat, to be honest with you. With me, I find a lot of them vape very, very similarly, and this isn't a real big exception. I mean, to be honest, what this vapes like to me is a Trident stuck on top of a tank. That's exactly how it vapes, which is good because that's the intention, I guess. And obviously, you know, use mesh and all that kind of stuff, being a Jenny, but we still use cotton because it's nicer for us. So yeah, flavour I think I'm going to give it a 10 as well, because you can tailor it. Your smaller air holes are going to give you a more intensified flavour and throat hit. Your big one's going to give you more vapour but less of a flavour. It depends on a lot of variables, guys. You know what these are by now. But yeah, I'm going to give them both 10s. If they're not 10s right now, which I believe they are, but if they weren't, they definitely have the potential to be 10s. So yeah, 10 for me.
yeah, overall of this device, I mean, to the people out there that like the look of it, it's going to be one of your little gems, I think. I mean, it's not the hardest Jenny out there to recall or maintain, but it's not the easiest either. So it's kind of sitting in that midway mark of kind of love-hate sort of thing. It's just a good all-round Jenny, in my opinion. And to be honest, it's going to be dependent on whether you want to pay the price for it. That is the biggest one for me on these higher end devices. I mean, I have a couple of high end devices. You have a couple of high end devices. We pick and choose our high end devices on what you want to live with, basically, because you're going to pay that money. You're going to use it the most. Let's be honest. You're not going to go out and spend like $190 odd on a device you're going to use twice and stick in the corner. You know. Yes. So overall, if you're willing, if you want one and you want to pay the price, it's a 10. For the people out there that just want to try it or can get it, so they're going to get it. It all depends on your Jenny. If you prefer Jennies, then yeah, it's still going to be a 10. For me, it's just not. It's just for the price of that for a Jenny tank. I don't use them. I mean, I use Jenny tanks. Don't get me wrong, but for that sort of price, I'd be forcing myself to use that all the time, and I wouldn't enjoy that all the time. So for me, the price doesn't match the use I'm going to get out of it.
There you go. Overall for me, it's built very well. It is built very well. It's stupid to say that it isn't. It feels nice. The screw threads are bang on as bloody well they should be. It looks awesome. All the details are what they should be. It vapes well. It does vape well. It delivers the power well through the ATI, not just the mod, because the mod's usually what does that, but the copper contact and stuff, these things do make a difference, and this is no exception. The copper contact is definitely making a difference in this. I found that it does hit quite hard compared to builds that are exactly the same in other Jennies that haven't got that copper contact, so that does help as well. I find not so much with necessarily how much power you're going to get, but how quickly that power is there into that Jenny. It isn't cheap. It isn't. I mean, if you can get one and you really want one and all that kind of stuff, then spondabulous. Chances are, if you're looking at this, you're seriously considering one anyway, and you're comfortable with the price that goes with it. But yeah, it's really not cheap. Overall, I would give the Jenny a 10. I would, because it's a great Jenny. It looks awesome. It performs well. It's nice to build. There are a couple of niggles, but there is with everything. But realistically, like for the vape experience alone, and that's what I always judge things on, is how well do they vape. The price is high when you can have a similar vape in the Trident. I know it's a dripper, but you can have a similar vape in the Trident, which is a third of this price.
There's a similar vape in other dual cool Jennies that are cheaper.
Oh yeah, there are. What clones do you mean? Like,
yeah.
You think of the Kraken clone?
Kraken clone.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same vape.
Yeah, I mean, this is better built than the Kraken clone.
Oh, definitely.
My preference in looks would be this one. I know yours would be the
Kraken. Yeah, but the build quality on this is by far 10 times better than the actual Kraken clone that I've got. But in terms of the vape quality that I get off of both of them, they're the same.
I'd say the air draw on this is slightly looser than the Kraken, but it's not by a lot. We're talking sort of bits and bobs here and there. It's one of them ones, guys. I think it comes down to you either buy a high end or you buy a mid range, or you buy a lower end, or you dabble in all three. We dabble in a bit of everything.
This wouldn't be one where I would put my money, but if you want one and you like Genesis tanks, then feel free to get one, because it is a Kraken Jenny tank. It is built superbly well, but it's kind of like you give with one hand, you take with the other. We say it all the time, right? Yes, you could buy this for like $200 and get that, and you could have the device you want, and that's great for you people. For someone like me, I'd rather have 4 RTAs, like 2 of them, but I've got 2 of them that I like instead of just 1.
There you go. It's one of them ones, guys. We're not going to get into the whole price versus quality thing. Is it good quality? Yes, it is. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. Does it vape well? Yes, it does. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you want one, then grab one.
If you don't, you don't.
It's as simple. I mean, I did want one. I wanted one before receiving it. Having had it, would I want one any less or any more? No. Had I come to terms with the fact that I wasn't prepared to pay that price for it when I wanted one before receiving it? Yes, I had. I wasn't prepared to pay that price for it. So that is what it is.
I think the main kickback was you was worried about getting stung on the postage.
It's postage tax. It's not just that, but it's just Jenny's for me. If I want to experience the ultimate vape, then I'll buy a dripper. I think that's where the best flavour is. I think that's where the best tailorability is. I think that's where the best builds are.
Yeah.
I love how many build options you've got in things like the Trident. It's just you can do anything. In this, it's there, but you've got to work a lot harder for it, and some things just aren't possible. So it's one of them ones, guys. We'd recommend it if it's your kind of thing and you want to buy it. Obviously, go for it, crack on.
Oh yeah, you're not going to be displeased when you get this. It's very well built, like I keep saying. And it's just one of those ones that if you want it, and that's the only thing that you want, buy it, because you won't be displeased with it. You just won't. We're just saying it's not for us.
There you go. I mean, I do like it. It's going to hurt me to give it away, but it wasn't mine in the first place, and that's why I'm looking at it anyway. But obviously, a big thank you to Gav for doing what he's done, giving us this to do the review with, to have a play with, and also to give it away to one of you guys as well, which is awesome sauce.
Obviously, it's going to be quite a hard competition, this one. It's not going to be like our other ones where it's just like comment or whatever. This is going to be a proper competition, and it's going to be hard fought for this one.
Yes, it is, and also it will definitely be during our live event, because Gav said that's where he wanted it given away, and that's where it will be given away. So you're going to have to tune in and listen to 2 mongs flat for probably 2.5 hours. So
more like 4.
Oh, there you go. But that is what it is. But we'll be running that competition. Like I say, we'll post a video probably a couple of weeks before the live event, just so that everyone has a chance to see that that's what's happening on YouTube, Facebook, and all the rest of it stuff as well. So yeah, big thank you to him, and obviously if you want to win it, guys, then obviously come over. Do want to specify though, guys, you will be paying postage on this, just because we've been stung so many times giving stuff away to America, it just bites us in the arse every time. So yeah, postage will be payable by the winner. Right, guys, I think we are pretty much done. Yeah, pretty much done. Okay, there you go, guys. This has been a Prometheus. I've been Mr. Proton. This has been the Worm. We shall see you soon.